Hello everyone. Welcome back after your break. We are to have with us the founder and group CEO of MakeMyTrip, Mr. Deep Kalra. Mr. Kalra's entrepreneurial journey began in 2000. His innovative spirit was sparked when he realized the potential of simplifying travel booking processes, avoiding expensive travel agents, and creating a seamless, cost-effective travel experience with just a few clicks. Today, MakeMyTrip stands as India's largest online travel company, and under his leadership, MakeMyTrip has not only grown into a $500 million enterprise, but has also been recognized as the best travel portal in India and the best online travel service firm. Ernst & Young recognized Deep as the Entrepreneur of the Year 2011. KPMG acknowledged him as the most powerful digital influencer in India in 2012. His game-changing impact continues to inspire budding entrepreneurs. This session will be moderated by Dr. Priyank Narayan, founding director of the Center for Entrepreneurship at Ashoka University, Delhi. As an educator, researcher, ecosystem builder, he has contributed significantly to building a culture of entrepreneurship in India. Priyank has authored Leapfrog, 6 Practices to Thrive, along with his colleague, Professor Mukesh Sood. The book is a national bestseller and has also been translated into multiple Indian languages. Please join me in welcoming the inspirational leaders, Mr. Deep Kalra and Priyank Narayan.
Thank you so much. Welcome to this session. I think there are this session and another talk after this, which stands between you and a glass of wine. So we're going to make this interesting. We're going to make this very interactive. Deep, I'm delighted to welcome you here, and it's an honor to be having this conversation with you. Thank you for accepting our invitation to come in all the way for this conversation.
Thanks, Priyank. I'm truly delighted to be here. And I think all of you I met like at least a dozen people, can see the delight. So thank you. And I'm so glad it worked out, folks, because making the trip specially was a little bit of a trek, though London's one of my favorite cities. But this just worked out. I was in London for these 2.5 days. So I'm just delighted to be here. One small caveat, I'm no longer group CEO. So I'm chairman. I stepped down from day-to-day active CEO. I'm, I guess, partially executive now. So my co-founder Rajesh runs the company. So just to get that accurate. Yeah. Right. And that's why I can do fun stuff like this. So.
So Deep, you've had a remarkable journey. You started out working in a bank. GE started a bowling alley, and I know you invested in a beer company also somewhere along.
I didn't know that, but I'd love to get the dividends if they're there. No beer company and no bowling alley. I brought this company called AMF Bowling to India.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about this whole entrepreneurial spirit that you started with. You've also amongst the few people from your batch who actually from IIM Ahmedabad who actually got into entrepreneurship early on. So tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and the spirit of entrepreneurship you.
Yeah, very candidly, I had no aspirations of being an entrepreneur till I became an entrepreneur. That's the real story. So right through college, business school, I think there are a couple of people from IIM Ahmedabad here. You, Mukesh knows IIM Ahmedabad. We had one course offered in entrepreneurship, and I did not take it because I had no aspiration of being an entrepreneur. It was an elective in year 2. And then I worked for a bank, and like you said, ABN AMRO Bank, and I knew I'm not cut out for banking. That took about 3 years. I think the next move, which was bringing this American company based in Richmond, Virginia to India called AMF Bowling, I was an employee working for them, but it was a very entrepreneurial job. So I guess in hindsight, I cut my entrepreneurial teeth, helping that company grow that business in India. for 4 years. Financially, it was a disaster. Where my target was 2,000 lanes because China had 10,000 growing to 20,000. So just divide everything China did by 10. We should have had 2,000. In 4 years, we got 200 lanes sold. The largest center was in Bombay with 20 lanes. The typical center was 4 lanes. So it was not what we wanted the connotation to be. UK has some pretty nice centers. So that didn't quite work out on plan. And then my panic set in, and this would be relevant to a lot of MBA students actually. My panic that set in wasn't that I wasn't doing well financially. I was still okay. The base level was not the problem. The panic was I'd stopped learning. My boss sat in Richmond, Virginia. There was not that much to learn. No offense, but AMF Bowling wasn't clearly, a kind of company where, you expanded your horizons that much. So my driving force was to join a company where I'd learn. And I applied to a few places through a headhunter, and I got a job with GE Capital in India. And kudos to Pramod and the company, where I think they were happy to take someone with not a sketchy background till now, but definitely not your typical, not straight from banking. And I can tell you that was my turning point, because my job was to find new avenues to distribute retail financial products. And this was early 99. And obviously the new avenue was the internet in India. And so I was, I guess, introduced both formally and informally. This is all that was going on around that time. Maybe you'll remember a bit of it, but around that time, dial-up modem, 128 kbps, painful, slow, but the internet was going to change everything. It was so clear. And even professionally, I was looking at companies we could partner with, work with, etc., to grow our business, and even evaluating some M&A options. I think for me, it was really an epiphany. It was an eye-opening thing, and I was convinced the internet's going to change everything. So the first thing you do, since you don't want to be an entrepreneur, is convince your boss that, listen, we should set up geindia.com. And I tried earnestly to do that. And again, to Nitin Gupta, my boss, and his boss, Pramod Bhasin, their credit, we got $1 million to set up geindia.com. A team of some 17 people were put together. But very soon, it was abundantly clear to me this is a Friday or a Saturday project. So we'd get an hour of time from them, and it wasn't going to change the needle. I think at that point I said, the internet, one, is going to change everything. B, it's got to be something you do 24/7. So anyone who has, hopes of doing their own thing or some aspirations, or like me, none, but who knows, at some point of time you'll do your own thing. I firm believer, if you start up something, the only way you have even half a shot of it working out is if you're all in. And you teach a course of entrepreneurship at Ashoka. So that was really my journey. I just said, I'm so fed up with trying to get a big corporate to tackle this exciting space. I'm going to do it myself. I was barely 30. I think I was 29. And I just said, this is it. So I took the plunge after 8 years of professional life. And it was more because it was the internet that was calling me. And travel was actually the second part of it, which we can come to if you want later. Yeah.
But the interesting part is, Deep, that at that time, internet penetration in India was 1%. Yeah. And maybe credit card penetration was less than 2%.
It was abysmal, right? Yeah.
So given that context, to start up and go all into internet business.
No, that's a great point, yeah.
It took a lot to take that decision and plunge, or?
No, a lot. I think it's 99% irrationality and 1% rationality at that point of time. It was fuzzy, but here's the thing, and I think I can only speak for Neha out here. Any others, entrepreneurs or past entrepreneurs, want to be? Oh, wow. So I can speak for all the entrepreneurs out here. Want to be entrepreneurs? Aspiring, of course. And sorry, Nadia, I got it wrong. So Nadia, I can speak for. We had a quick chat outside. There's a saying when we say it's a gut feeling. Do you know why it's called a gut feeling? So 25% of the neurons we have in our brain are there in our gut. This is a fact, right? You can read The Clever Gut, or you can read Bill Bryson. This is a fact. Therefore, 1/4 of your brain actually is here. So when you feel something here, it's actually a very innate and a real feeling. It could be fear, it could be feeling good, it could be excitement, whatever. So it's a gut feeling that you get. And it's definitely, fuzzy logic. If you start joining the dots, it makes no sense for anyone who comes from a great school like this or from the kind of institutes. It makes no sense. If you just do the chances, what are the odds of your success? It makes no sense. But otherwise, no one would turn entrepreneur. So people do that when you're so convinced of an idea, you're so excited about it, and it's not just a flash and pan, you got an idea, I'm doing it. No, you have fleshed it out, you've thought it through. Truly, you cannot sleep because of that idea. You're up many, many, many nights, which is what I was doing on that 128 kbps modem, which kept collapsing. Every night for a period of maybe 3 to 4 months, my wife was sick of me. We had just had our firstborn. And, in the middle of doing that, I was also rocking our firstborn very often. From 9 p.m. after dinner, 9:30 p.m. till I think 3 a.m. every day, I was just trying to figure out what to build on it, researching, looking out what's working. So that's the kind of passion, Junoon, whatever you need. And then you flesh out your idea, then your left side of the brain takes over. You make your financial models, your projections, everything else. But you've got to be that convinced. So you've got to feel it in your bones. So I did feel it. I did have 2 ideas. I fleshed out both plans. Online stockbroking was the first one, more financial broking coming from a kind of banking background. And the second was online travel. And the thesis was very simple. What were the businesses or transactions that were being done over the phone at that point of time I felt were more likely to move online. Today it sounds almost alien because today bandwidth, access, mobile in your pocket, whatever, like you can say, listen, I can do anything online as we are seeing. At that point of time, it wasn't conceivable. So I realized that I saw my stockbroker once a year on Diwali, and I saw my travel agent once a year on Diwali when they came, and otherwise they had a runner come back and forth, take my check, do all of that, because that's what was happening in 99, 2000. And finally, I think it was a little bit more heart over head. I thought online stockbroking will eventually find a home with a large banking house. I looked at Charles Schwab as a model at that time, whereas online travel, I believed, was something which one could control the destiny of. And it just seemed far more exciting than online stockbroking. So, yeah.
How exciting. So we'll move to the theme of the day, and the theme of the day is Jugaad.
Okay. Does Cal know what Jugaad is? Cal, you know Jugaad? Okay, just checking. Okay.
So you've talked about innovation in India. You've talked about how technology is being used. Can you share a little bit about how you actually did problem solving for as a bootstrap startup? You got funding at some stage.
Yeah.
But you were really problem solving for something that you were passionate about. So was Frugal, was Jugaad, was all of this part of...
Absolutely. 2000 is when we started, April 1, All Fool's Day. So defy augury always. No, it's very easy. If you're in India and you start anything new on April 1, it keeps your tax returns very simple because financial year ends on March 31st. Almost all changes I made sure just do it that way. I like simplicity. So we actually had a dream start. According to Sanjeev Bikhchandani, who's founder of Naukri and a friend philosopher guide, he says he was the second last business to get funded by ICICI, and we were probably the last before the bust. We got $2 million. I got it from eVentures on a business plan. I had very little money at that point of time, and I put in whatever I had, and they gave me $2 million or promised me. It came eventually. Deal signed on a paper napkin. Trust works, guys. This was a guy I'd never met before, Neeraj Bhargav. McKinsey background, maybe St. Stephen's, 6 years senior, something just, I felt I could trust the guy. Signed the deal on a paper napkin on broad construct, gave away 70% of the company for $2 million because I needed the money and I didn't know better.
70%.
Yeah, and how life turns. So within a year, .com bust hit India full on the wave. eVentures wanted their money back. And I said, well, I don't have the money. We've spent most of it. We're going on track. Everything's going great. They're saying our LPs are pulling out. And I was naive enough to say, what's an LP? I actually didn't know what an LP was because, today it's funny, but I didn't. I was so focused on my business. And the LPs were none other than SoftBank and Murdoch and Star. So they're big LPs. They wanted their money back, shut down all, businesses on the internet. In addition to that, 9/11 had happened, which had really taken the mickey out of us because most of our business at that point of time came from NRIs in the US coming back to India. Because to answer your question, in India, people weren't ready to buy online. Trust factor was low. So we were really, stuck. The quandary was either shut down, pay everyone 1-2 months salary and go back and get a respectable corporate job, which I knew I'd get, but I wasn't sure about a lot of the others in the team, and we were about 42 people, or figure out a way to survive. And I asked these guys, well, what's the option? They said, you can buy us out, which I thought was pretty ludicrous, because if I could buy you out, why would I take your money? So I learned the concept of distress valuation, went to a friend of mine who turned CA, who was a CA then, and I said, what do I do? He says, this is what is called distress valuation. Buy them out if you believe in your business. He says, I said, okay, how much should I offer them? He said, how much money do you have? So I could muster up between all my savings, my wife's saving, which she hasn't forgotten till date, her savings, and 3 angel investors. One of them who runs the company now, Rajesh, and at that time was working for me as CFO, and 2 others from eVentures, individuals who took permission and said, we believe in this business. We mustered up 46 lakhs. So Sandeep Singhal of Nexus and Anup Gupta of Nexus, we mustered up 46 lakhs. And I went into this meeting a little embarrassed, saying, 2 million. 2 million was 10 crores. I said, okay, let me go and talk to, and this is a true story. I said, guys, this is what I have, and this is everything I have. Guess how long the meeting lasted? 5 minutes. Shook hands, 5 minutes, said, done, sign off on a piece of paper, wrote back the company to me entirely and the angels, 100% now owned by us. And I was stunned, and I said, what just happened? And I learned one of the biggest lessons of deal making. Put yourself in the shoes of the other side. All the other side wanted was to wash their hands of this company so that they have no liability, so that in case me or anyone else in the team wants to jump off the building, do something crazy, get into depression, this American company is out with it. I didn't understand that. I could have got the company back with 4.6 lakhs maybe. But this is how it works out, so no regrets there. But I'm so glad we bought it back. Next 4 years, Priyank, were totally bootstrapped. And that was our real test. That's the real test, folks. When you don't have money, you don't have anyone backing you, you only have money for a couple of months. Every spend, literally every 10,000 then, not even a lakh, had to be thought twice of. Should we buy this keyword on Google? Should we not? Should we invest here? Should we not? Every hire. So I told the team very frankly, I said, guys, there are going to be no raises, and the senior guys have to take cuts. I'll take a cut till I can, so I took a 100% cut for 18 months. And a couple of senior guys took big cuts and made them co-founders then, and I think that was the best decision in hindsight. Several other guys left. We shrunk from 42 to 24 over that weekend. And the next 4 years, we worked with, did all kinds of jugaad, did all kinds of nonsense just to survive. Shrunk to real estate, which was 11 rupees a square foot, which was a mezzanine in Okhla phase 1, the non-sexy Okhla. Took cuts, like I said, in salary, and really just, I think hunkered down. But what kept us going then was 2 things, I guess. We looked at the numbers, and I realized every day if we look at them, they're depressing. So just look every month and see, are you moving in the right direction? If you're moving in the right direction, for us, right direction was not total revenues or anything else. It was conversion. If your conversion metrics in our kind of business, Nadia's kind of business, any online business are moving in the right direction, you're moving along the right path. I'm sorry I'm boring her. Oh. I said something wrong. Okay. She doesn't agree with the conversion. Okay. So if the metrics really help, and you have to believe in them, but again it comes back to gut feeling. The fuzzy thing which will keep you going every month is to say that, listen, a little bit more and a little bit more. So my biggest advice I give any startup entrepreneur, any young entrepreneur is, don't give up too early. Firstly, when you start, sign in with 4 to 5 years. Minimum it takes that long. If it happens earlier, wonderful. But sign in saying, do I have fuel in the tank to go 4 to 5 years? And this tank is your stamina tank, nothing else. If you have that minimum 4 to 5 years, go for it. Don't look back in the review too often. Say, I've checked out. I'm not going to compare with my colleagues. Ujjwal's going to get this crazy job, which is better than McKinsey and everything. I'm not going to compare with him. I'm not going to do it. So I'm just going to be comfortable in my space building. Have that mentality. And the second one is, linked to that, There will be a funding winter. There will be all kinds of stuff that'll happen. Don't give up too early. Because had we done that, I would never know, we went ahead and IPO'd in 2010. The company, whatever, is worth 8.5 billion today. None of it would have happened. But I'll tell you guys a crazier story. Flipkart. And I heard this from Sachin Bansal, one of the founders of Flipkart, which is probably one of the most valuable internet companies in India. Walmart owned now. In a panel like this in Oberoi, Gurgaon, I remember, he was actually being very frank, and the question asked to us, I think Mohandas Pai was the moderator, and Mohandas asked, Sanjeev Bikhchandani was there, what's the biggest mistake you ever made? And went round the table, and he said, when nothing was happening at Flipkart, we met this person who wanted to buy the company, and me and Binny agreed to sell the company for, I think $5 or $10 million, and they gave their word. And they said, deal is done. They came back and they told this advisor, the person they listened to, whoever, he says, short of slapping us, he abused us, short of slapping us, he said, you guys are making the biggest mistake of your life. You are onto something. And they reneged on that deal, and that company is worth whatever, 20 billion today. So they would have given up too early. It's as simple as that. You never know what will happen. Just keep carrying on. Yes, it's tough because sometimes you have family, you have other things going on around you to support. All of that is there. Youth helps, but I would say that would be my single biggest recommendation. Frugality really helps you because then you really take the calls which matter. The fluff gets cut out of it. So you don't do, if you have a advertising budget of 10 lakhs, you make every rupee of the 10 lakhs count. Otherwise, you just kind of, check out, you just spend, let me put a lakh here, a lakh there and all. Too much money actually, I think, gives too many bad habits. And those are very hard to change. And when funding winter comes, you see companies which are imploding. Why? Because the bad habits became part of their system. And the bad habits start with big fat salaries paid to themselves. I can tell you that's the worst bad habit. And those are the first few companies to blow up because your fixed cost is too high. And because we survived those crazy 4 years, surviving COVID for us, and you can imagine what COVID did for travel business. So I reported a quarter in COVID, then I was group CEO, which we were down 96% in revenues. And one of the investors, so it's called an earnings call, and I thought we might as well be funny, and I said, this is a lack of earnings call. No one found it funny. And one investor asked me after that, just one guy, he said, where did the 4% come from? This was India's national lockdown. So that was the emergency travel and emergency stays and things like that. Hotels were turned into hospitals. But we survived that because we said, listen, this has happened. Now let's deal with what we can. What are the controllable factors? Cut fixed costs. And again, we went back into cut mode. This time we had enough cash in the bank. So we were sitting on $500 million. So we knew we'd survive. We didn't know how long that'll last. But we said survival is not an issue. It's not existentialism this time. But it is the damage that it'll cause. And the real challenge then was to keep people motivated and not lose your best people, especially techies. Who, very hard to keep because they're fungible, right? They were moving across jobs. They didn't have to stay with online travel. While we were imploding, guys like Zomato and guys like Amazon and Flipkart were going through the roof because for them, they were doing deliveries at home, obviously. So that was a different challenge altogether.
Thank you. That's very fascinating. So let's zoom out a little bit about the digital entrepreneurship landscape in India. Given that there are multiple stacks that are available, a lot of the frugal innovation can happen on these digital infrastructure and platforms that have been created. Where are the opportunities, Deep? What can entrepreneurs look forward to? What does India have to offer to the world and to Britain more specifically?
Yeah, clearly there are largely Indians here. I don't know how many non-Indians are out here. Any non-Indians at an India summit? Wow, I'm seriously impressed. I will refrain from using any Hindi. Thank you for being here, guys. Yeah. So, unbelievable. Oh my God. Today I met someone like this at lunch who's the former, he's now the vice chairman of MasterCard. He and I were having lunch together. He was the former governor of Utah. He has a good chance of being in the Trump government. And he zapped me completely by saying, I wanted to spice up the very bland food that was served. And he says, don't you want some Hyderabadi achar? I said, oh my God. And then he told me he had served there, he had served in Russia. And then he said, well, the real reason I know so much about India, he'd adopted their daughter from India after 5 of their own kids, one from China, one from... So you're the second person who zapped me as an India file today. So thank you for that. Yeah, folks, it's so clear that the opportunities are in India. And like we were saying in that short drive over from the station, Ujjwal, if you guys, I mean, you can try to work here for a bit if you want to. And it's not that time is running out, but India right now has never, ever been hotter. And I'm telling you, I'm seeing it. I have never seen it hotter. I've been working since 1992. Mr. Ravikant will probably tell you similar things. It's never been more fertile for taking off, for whether it's startup or new age businesses. Why? Because like Priyank said, the building blocks are in place. That 1% credit card penetration, that 1% internet penetration is long over. I think every quarter we add another % or 2 in terms of internet penetration, high speed, on phone. In addition to that, we have the financial inclusion with almost everyone today who's online having a mode to pay, being bankable, and if they can't pay for a big holiday, then Nadia's company is going to make them creditable and then give them installments on the fly. Everyone's trying to solve for this today. So you'll not find a better time. On the contrary side, there is no unique idea left. All the ideas are out there. It's a question of how deep do you want to go to understand the problem and solve for it. So if you're going to skim the surface, it ain't going to happen. If you're going to snorkel, it ain't going to happen. You've got to scuba dive. You've got to go to the bed of the ocean to figure out the solution to those hairy problems. And then you have a good chance of making it happen. Great time to be there? Sure, you can be based here and try to do something there. But if most of you know India, today it's an amazing place to be back. Yes, there are many other negatives which we can keep solving for. The air is obviously not the cleanest, blah, blah, blah. The traffic's terrible, etc. But in terms of opportunity and building a career, I have never, ever seen a place so hot. It reminds me only of one other place, which I didn't see firsthand, but I see it through some friends, investors. This is China 15 years ago. And maybe the US, like 20 years ago or something like that. But this is all Silicon Valley. Yeah, it's probably like that. I've read up a lot about what Silicon Valley was like. It's like that. So I don't think there could be a better time to build a business around that, build your careers around that. That's totally fine. A lot of people say, straight up go and do it on your own. I'm more a believer on get some experience, whether before this MBA, after MBA, get some experience. It'll be very valuable when you're scaling up your company. Unless you're a techie. If you're a techie, I get it. I get it completely where you can't wait because you have something you're ready to build. When you scale up your company and you want to attract talent, that's when experience really helps. Work experience helps not because of what you're going to learn with every year. It's because what you learn through osmosis, as I call it. Osmosis is the process of learning when you're in the same room as some incredible people and they're taking decisions and you're a fly on the wall. And this could be a great company that you work with. The amount you will learn by being in that room, by understanding why decisions are taken and how they're taken if you're ready to absorb, is far more valuable than any school can teach you. So for me, those 8 years of working, out of them at least the 4 or 5 years, was super, super helpful in trying to scale up and build the company.
So last question before we open up to the audience, and this is about AI, and I think it's a question which is there on every entrepreneur's mind. You've integrated AI into MakeMyTrip for certain things, but what's the opportunity in AI for entrepreneurs here? What can they integrate? How do we embrace it? And especially as students and also as teachers, what can we do with it?
Yeah, so I don't think anyone today knows the full impact of AI because it's evolving so fast. But with every new kind of release, every new development, I don't know if you've been tooling around with Gemini recently, pretty mind-blowing. Every new release, Mid-Journey completely blows my mind every time I'm using it, or Sora. So I think one thing is clear, the impact of AI on everything is going to be probably the same, if not more than computers and the smartphone and apps. So think quantum leap. This is not an incremental thing. This is not about saying we'll make customer service a little better and we'll let go of 20% people. No. This is a fundamentally different way of developing everything you've got. It's a different way of actually software development. Because a lot of the software development is now going to be developed by AI, is being developed by AI. So if you're a techie, you also have severe challenges. You're either now going to be a techie, if you want a very robust career ahead, who can code AI, or you'll be delegated down to being a prompter, which non-techies can do as well. So you've got to think very hard to upgrade your tech skills now. It's changing everything. We've done a few things and we are seeing results. Like today, you can very intuitively book a ticket and more today, voice any language. Which is, you say, yeah, why shouldn't it happen? But it couldn't happen before because today it's become very intuitive and we are suggesting things to you basis your past patterns. So data science is the building block of AI, right? We're doing it for customer service now, which is a bane everywhere else. Even if you have remote customer service centers, they're very expensive. The cheapest reasonably good seat you get for voice customer service in India today is 40,000 rupees per month, which is, we have to do the math to what, 500 pounds? Yep. Yeah, 500 pounds a month. Not cheap any longer. And if you have 1,000 customer service agents, and that's why my friends tell me you can never get through to your customer service line. I said, yeah, because try the self-help guys. That's the whole idea. And Barclays Bank out here, I'm a customer. They do a pretty good job of it. In fact, they're way better on their app till you start speaking to their call center. Because their call center's in bloody Scotland, where you can't understand that accent anyway, what's going on. It's incredibly tough, and people blame, they talk about Indian accent. Wait till you try this Irish or the Scottish accents, they're terrible. Anyway, so AI now you have to envision, if you had someone, your best coder, working 24/7, writing code for you, what would you do out of that person? So your benchmark suddenly becomes not your average coder, it becomes your best. And guess what? The person or the guy or the gal can work 24/7. So think of getting a team of 10 such people building on each other's ideas and building on the best ideas released on open source on the internet to build the next version of what you want to build. It's quantum. It's scary to even imagine, right? We talk about it at Ashoka about how pedagogy is going to change, and it is changing. How do you make sure people aren't, and students aren't, obviously they should use AI, but they shouldn't obviously abuse it, because there are checks for that. Today it doesn't make any sense at all to have a test or an exam where you don't have access to the internet. Makes no sense, because the real world you do have that access. This is not a quiz, or this is not mastermind. This is something where you have that access all the time. Today the question is how to sift through reams and reams and reams of information and very quickly distill out what you need, and how to apply that. So the whole game has changed towards applying all the knowledge which is out there. So skills are going to be different. So people are questioning the value of an MBA. And rightfully so. I know it's a 1-year MBA out here, but 1 year or 2 year, people are saying, let me think about it, because A, it costs a lot, B, it's 1 or 2 years of my life, whereas I can continue to work and just pick and choose a la carte the courses that I want from Coursera or wherever else, and prepare myself for the brave new world, and I will just do courses which are again in data science or AI. The other really cool things which we've done, more on data science, but I think getting there, is something called a trip guarantee. So if you booked a train ticket in India, the bane of booking a train ticket in India is getting waitlisted. So if you get waitlisted, you have no idea till 1 day before the chart is released if you get confirmed. Do I relate to people who book train tickets? Yeah? Okay. So we thought very hard about this, and we worked out the probability, two very bright PhDs worked out the probability of different train tickets getting confirmed basis on, typically what happens on that train, data models, large data models. We said, let's now put our money where our mouth is, and let's give a guarantee. Knowing that there is an 80 or 75% chance this ticket will get confirmed, we say, pay a little bit of premium. If your ticket gets confirmed, phenomenal. If it doesn't, we'll give you 3x the amount. We'll give you yours back and double more back. And automatically as credit, you can even book a cab, because you have to still get there, or a cheap flight using that. It's a runaway success. We didn't make money on this for the first 6 months. We lost money. Similarly, Fare Lock for air tickets. Price Lock. We have Price Lock because everyone wants to know what's the best time to book an air ticket. You know, people say, oh, if I wait till too close to the day, it'll be too high. But then the Gen X will say, no, Gen Z is going to say, no, guess what happens in the end? Distress inventory, you'll get it super cheap, blah, blah, blah. So you say, okay, lock in your price now. With, again, a tiny premium. It's like insurance. If the price goes up, you've locked into this price. So 5,000 rupees Delhi, Bombay. If the price goes down so that you don't have buyer's remorse, you get the advantage of the lower price. So it's a win-win, and it's again a runway success. We didn't make money for the first maybe 1 year on this product, but we kept improving our model. So model kept getting better. So we're using it now literally right across in what we're doing. No plain vanilla products out there. At the back of this, we have the advantage of 50 million customers, all the transactions they do. And so again, folks, aspiring entrepreneurs, if you're thinking around this is now par for the course. What I'm telling you is nothing that special. Everyone's going to be doing it. And you got to build something which is now best in world, best in class, not best in India, because there are no boundaries left. Some of the best companies, like for Amazon, they've openly declared on all their calls now, India is their next biggest market. And this is the same market where people said, oh, it's a price market, people don't pay, people don't do this. But guess what? I mean, the size of the market, the penetration, and of course the fact that they can't enter China. So this is their next biggest market. And they're putting, and in US is not saturated because they've done wonderful things out there, but in India they're getting into other use cases like the whole Instacart model, etc. So everyone is going to be there. Any good multinational is going to be there. So unless you're building this very niche business, like a friend's son, very bright kid, I must say. McKinsey head India, McKinsey head Asia. We were talking about Gautam Kumra. His son, while doing college, I think took a gap semester or two and launched a clothing brand. He calls it Karma or Kora or something from Kara maybe. Karo from India. Really interesting fabrics, but selling overseas. He is the youngest designer ever to debut on Paris Fashion Week. Yeah, this guy's last name is Kartik Kumra, and he's 24 years old, and he built his entire model on the web. So if you just think about, now that is a niche business. That Amazon and company, they won't eat your lunch because that is something you understand. So you can think about something which you think is inherently strong in India, you can take to the world. That's a totally different kind of thing. It's fairly niche, but then you have to be high value, high margin. That's the only way you'll make tons of money. So I met his parents, they were very proud about it, and I was saying, must support Karthik, and, must buy some of his stuff. And then someone else whispered to me, his average shirt retails at $500. I said, guys, you must give away some of his stuff to, all your friends. You can't buy. But that's the business you have to be in. Yeah.
Lovely. Very fascinating, Deep. I could go on and on talking about this, but I have a few hands which I saw.
Sure.
I saw your hand up as the first hand, if you still have your question. Yes, gentlemen, yes. You had your hand up, right?
Yeah, so a little bit of...
No, he was excited at the techie point, so I saw that.
Well, I can make a question up. So it's a little bit of a round of pivot. Are you part of Formula 1?
Are you fond of Formula 1?
No, actually, I've been to one live race in Monaco, and I didn't get it. I believe it's a sport you have to see on TV, and it's not my kind of. I'm a sport fanatic. Like, I would go and watch golf, and I don't play golf, but I get the game. I'm watching the UEFA finals tomorrow, that's why I'm in town. And I would go for tennis. I'd go for many sports, badminton, swimming, anything. But Formula 1 is one sport I haven't got. Sorry.
The reason I mentioned that is because when Honda sold their team to Braun GP paid £1.
Ah,
Very similar to your story.
is that right?
So you could have got it for 100 people.
Okay.
Lovely. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you.
I'm going to call upon Abdur. And Abdur is also a student of mine from Ashoka. So Abdur, good to have you.
Yeah.
I'll try to speak loudly. Mr. Kalra.
He's from the second best business school in this area. Is that right?
I don't know.
I have to say that today. Yeah. Okay.
But yes, so Mr. Kalra, firstly, thank you so much.
Just call me Deep. Yeah.
Very inspiring to sit here in this city. Mr. Kalra, so India has massive scale, right? And if we just look at the aviation market, from 50 we have reached 150 airports, we are going to reach 200,000 aircraft very soon, right? It's being close to the market that you've spoken about. And and again, massive growth potential along with the massive skill that we have. Do you feel that a time will come very soon where, in the Indian startups will also, going beyond just starting up and producing for India and doing business for India, we will go beyond just India and start producing in India for the world? Do you think?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I have to be honest with you. Certain goods, yes, you do that when your own home domestic market, and probably Mr. Ravikant knows this better than anyone, when you don't have a home market. So then there's a crying need, or your home market is saturated, or you can do something much, much, much better than us. So the China model is very interesting. China, when they became the exporter to the world of all kinds of manufactured items, their domestic market wasn't that crazy. But they got the benefits of that because they managed efficiency, because their whole model is different. It's very culturally different, right? People leave their farms, husband, wife, they leave the kids with the grandparents, they come, they work on a factory, they live there, and they work 8 or 10 hours, whatever. Their productivity is like literally legendary, 1.5x or maybe 2x of Indian productivity. Very hard to do. And the number of lines they have going in one factory, I don't think we can even think about that. Certain products we will, certain services we will. IT, that's our story. I mean, what is Infosys built on? It's a phenomenal story. By the way, Infosys was very inspirational for me when I was building MakeMyTrip as an ethos as a company, right? So I think we've done a great job of doing that already for services. For manufactured goods, it's not that we can't. There are auto manufacturers that have done very, very well who are actually exporting to the top names in the business. So again, it'll be probably certain items. The rest will all depend on if you think you've built something which is as good as world class, you can, or your market is saturating. India market's not getting saturated anyway. Having said that, there's only one market which we've thought we should go ahead and launch in, and not because the India market's drying up, that's GCC. So GCC for us is this huge market because we realized 12 to 13% of our traffic without paying for it was coming from GCC. So these were started with NRIs in Dubai and in UAE and in Abu Dhabi and in Saudi, and that's a big paying market. So that's still in experiment mode for us. We've been doing that for the last few years, good results. But otherwise for us, that market is big enough. Manufactured products, I guess, again, I'll ask Mr. Kant to share some ideas with you. I'm not that clued on, but it'll happen in good. Like Made in India is a lovely slogan. I think it takes more to do that right now. I don't think we have all the building blocks in place, but I hope I'm wrong.
Thank you. Jaideep, last question.
Very interesting. You said that in the first 5 years or so, you were building a lot of bootstrapping, and then you scaled. Was there a different mindset you needed in that first part, and what Jugaad was then, and then what happens when you scale? And you still use that same Jugaad mindset when you're scaling, or is something different?
It's a great question, actually, and I should have actually spoken about it. Yes, when you don't have money, there's much more Jugaad. So 2005, we got institutional funding all over again. We got $9 million from SAFE partners. They stayed with us till IPO. We grew 25x from 2005 to 2010 when we IPO'd at that point of time. When you get, I didn't mean to vilify venture funding completely, like you need that money. So why did I take money? I'd actually said I will never take money from venture capital again after that experience in 2000. But then you realize to build a B2C brand in India, couldn't do it with, again, upping your marketing budget by a few lakhs every month. Ain't gonna happen because the clutter was so much. Advertising in India is so expensive. How do you break that clutter? So we actually had to go. So you can definitely take bigger swings, bigger risks, and that's what you can do. But what you never want to lose, and even today I say we are a 24-year-old startup, and that's what you never want to lose. So every new experiment, I like to give the people a finite amount. I tell them, build a business case, how much money do you need? Cut that down by 25%, pare it down about, give them as little as possible, see success in that experiment, and then you start bankrolling it. I think if you start bankrolling too early, it's a recipe for disaster. Yeah. I guess we're out of time. Or you?
It's going to be 2 more minutes, so I'm going to get 1 minute, 1 minute here.
Okay.
Firstly, fascinating.
Thank you.
Love the storytelling. I identify with at least 8 to 10 things that you said because I personally agree with you. I'm on the way back after trying to do something in India for 5 years, either as an investor or working with a startup, living in the US.
So your question.
I'm coming to that. The question is that you have to be there to be able to make an impact, but you can't always be only about leveraging the technology and the IT, which is what we are synonymous with. I've been part of the China story, I've been part of the US story, now I'm trying to be part of India's story, and in the consumer and retail space. And I was that fly in the wall when Flipkart deal was being discussed at Walmart. I think we can do consumer. I think we can lead and create the global brands based out of India. It just hasn't been done. But I would love to hear from you that, AI, ML, deep learning is fine. That's what our core is. And we have massive companies like yours and Tata's and everybody else. But what about consumer business?
Yeah, so I mean, short answer, I'm definitely, I believe it can be done, and there's some being done. For me, the greatest example of food consumer business, Haldiram. Absolutely, exported to the world, largely Indian palate right now, but we have Indian diaspora of 10 to 20 million, depending how you call. So, can be done. Like I said, auto parts is being done. Will a car being made 100% in India or an aircraft made by HAL today make it overseas? I don't know. Again, he's the authority. You should talk to him on manufacturing. At least he knows much, much more. He's a guru, so he will tell you. But I don't want to give an opinion where I don't have one, or I'm still on the fence. I wish it gets done. I'm, the proudest Indian you'll ever meet, but I don't know when it'll happen. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, just one last question. So I would just like to bring the global perspective into play, as you were saying. So let's say one country or multiple countries want to boost tourism from India. For example, let's say Saudi Arabia says, I want 7.3 million tourists from India by 2030, 2040.
Yeah.
So that directly impacts your company, obviously, via multiple channels that comes through you. So I'm saying, like, how does it impact you firstly, and how are you facilitating this discussion? Because obviously in these countries, such sort of tourism, it is more business for you.
No, I got it. So exactly that is happening, by the way. 45 to 50 million international trips happened, albeit from only about 12, 13 million unique travelers abroad. But that is bursting. That is what, so China's, I think just before COVID, $250 billion was their spend on outbound travel. They made some 150 million trips or something like that. That's going to happen. So every tourism board, either we are going to or now they're coming to us, including Saudi, because they're saying India is the next big story, and they're realizing when Indians travel, they actually spend a lot more. So Indians spend a lot more on food and a lot more on shopping than a lot of other, it's a celebration. So typically you travel, you have your budget for your travel, and then you say, oh, and then some more is basically to go and splurge, because that's happening on the high streets of London too. So that is huge, and for us it's a big opportunity. We actually have a small team which is only working with tourism boards, and it's.
And do you facilitate the process? Like, you tell them, like, Saudi tourism
end to end. Yeah, I'd request all of you to check our website, check our app or our website, and you'd see a lot of that going on. We also charge them to advertise there, and then we make more money from that. Yeah.
Fantastic. What a wonderful conversation, Deep.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been very inspirational, and I hope many of you get inspired and start something and create something for India and for the world. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, folks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh.